Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maryam Musayeva. Beside me is Ayan Taghiyeva, and today we are honored to welcome our distinguished guest, Mr. Fariz Ismailzade. He is the Vice Rector of ADA University, the Director of the Institute of Development and Diplomacy, and also serves as a member of the Milli Majlis, the Parliament. Hello, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, thank you so much for invitation.
How are you feeling today?
Feeling good. It's nice weather today, and I'm so happy to see so many energetic, bright students here. So I'm very happy to be with you.
Okay, thank you. I think we should go straight to the questions. So, my first question would be about ADA. How were you involved in the creation and the early development?
So I was a student in United States, and Rector Hafiz Pashayev, who established ADA University, he was at that time ambassador of Azerbaijan. He was the first ambassador of Azerbaijan in Washington. I asked him to be intern in the embassy, and he agreed. So I was his intern during the summertime. I was doing internship, and that's how we met each other. And then he returned to Azerbaijan, and he established ADA University, and I was his first, let's say, employee. He was my first contact at ADA University. He invited me to work for him, and that's how we started. 2006. That was probably before you were born.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it tough at the beginning?
Well, we started with only one computer, one printer, and one office. So we didn't have any of these lovely facilities that you enjoy. We had only one office in the building of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And of course, it was tough because we didn't have anything, but we had big plans. I mean, Rector Pashayev had big plans, big vision, and he worked hard to make this vision into this reality that you see today.
I see that your hard work paid off. Today, the university and the school, they're beautiful. But what are the biggest challenges that you face as the vice rector currently on your daily basis?
Today?
Yes.
Well, we have a big university, so the beauty of this big scale is that we are expanding, we are adding new programs, we are adding new partnerships. Just 1 month ago, we opened Italy-Azerbaijani University. Probably you saw it, the building in the park. So a lot of things happening, a lot of new additions, but the challenge is that, we have to deal with this large scope of work. So every day we have a growing number of projects, growing number of partnerships, growing number of delegations. It is time consuming, it is energy consuming. We sometimes have a hard time coordinating the schedules. But overall, this is exciting project in the country to establish a university, to establish a new school. By the way, we have now not only school here, which where you studying, but we also have a primary school in Gala village. And we have also a branch in Gazakh region, and we are building another branch in Ganja region. So we are expanding, and this is the challenge of dealing with this expansion.
How do you think the newly launched Italy-Azerbaijan University will affect our country?
It's a wonderful project. Italian universities will come and help us to teach here. It is Milano, Politecnico Milano, Torino, Bologna, and Luis and Sapienza. So 5 partners. They will be sending professors to teach here. And we chose specifically the areas which are so important for Azerbaijan: architecture, design, agriculture, food sciences, food safety, management, electrical engineering. All of these areas are important for future of Azerbaijan, for development of Azerbaijan, for development of our economy. So I think that this Italy-Azerbaijan University will greatly help to develop Azerbaijan.
So, speaking of education, you've mentioned that you studied in USA and, if I'm not mistaken, also Spain and the Netherlands. And you've been exposed to various educational systems. Which lessons or practices would you like to implement to our educational system?
So I did my high school in United States, then I did my university also in United States, master program in Spain, and doctorate program in Netherlands. What I like about Western education is that it gives students a lot of soft skills. So communication skills, public speaking skills, ability to work in teams, ability to solve problems. Azerbaijani education system is mostly about memorization of the facts, memorization of data, test-based preparation. That is what I like about foreign education system, that it teaches students thinking, ability to think, ability to solve problems. I think that maybe in other school, you also have such kind of curriculum where you work on projects, you work on certain team projects. So this is what is needed in today's world. Not so much memorization, because memorization can be, solved by looking into Wikipedia or some internet resource. You don't need to memorize a lot of stuff, but ability to solve problems, ability to think critically, ability to communicate and to work with teams, ability to work in multicultural environment. These are the skills that you will need in the future. And that is what I like about Western education.
But what about the other way around? For example, what would you add from our educational system to foreign ones?
What I like about Azerbaijani education system and generally about Azerbaijani society is that we have a strong focus on values, family values. I mean, you know that in Azerbaijan, the concept of family is important. Maybe in foreign countries, the relationship between parents and children is not so strong. So our society, our education system teaches us our values, our traditional values, respect to elderly, patriotism, the ability to think about the future of not only yourself, but also of the future of your country, your community, your city, your nation. I think in that regard, Karabakh conflict also helped us to rethink our national ideology. So I like that our education system is very much focused on values and norms, traditions, and teaches our kids how to be not only good specialists, but also good citizens.
So from a moral side,
From moral perspective, yes.
And also, you've edited 3 books, if I'm not mistaken. You've been an editor of
Yes.
3 books, and you wrote articles for the Baku Dialogues journal. Yet, this may sound a little bit controversial, but from my observations and from what I've heard from my peers, there aren't enough official educational resources in our native language, in Azerbaijani, on the media. Like, it's even sometimes I struggle to find the meanings of some words in our language. Would you agree that there aren't enough sources in the media?
Well, generally, you look at scientific articles in the world, 90% of them are in English language. Most of the journals, respected journals in the world, are in English language. And if you want to be a famous scientist, if you want to publish articles, and if you want to do some important scientific research, you need to publish in English language. So therefore, of course, there is more, let's say, resources available in English language. That is true. Most famous journals are published in United States, in England. Even some European journals are published in English language. Even our journal, Baku Dialogue, which ADA is publishing, also in English language. So if you want to be famous around the world, you need to have access to English language resources. And unfortunately, that creates a bias, and not many resources are available in Azerbaijani language. But similarly, some other countries can complain that not many resources available in Georgian language, or maybe, I don't know, Uzbek language. That is unfortunate the reality of the scientific world. And today we have a new requirement in Azerbaijan that if you want to be a scientist, if you want to be a PhD student, you must pass English language requirement, because you cannot really be a world-renowned scientist without publishing in English language. So there's a new requirement in Azerbaijan to speak English and to pass IELTS exam. So that's how scientific community works, and that's how research works. There's a overwhelming majority of resources in English language, and very little available resources available in Azerbaijani or other native languages.
But don't you
But
think...
this can be fixed, of course. Young people like you can create websites in Azerbaijani language. When I was a student, your age, at that time, Karabakh conflict was just the beginning, and Armenian troops were advancing and they occupied our lands. So we created website in different languages, in Azerbaijani language, in Russian language, in English, Persian, to inform the world about Karabakh conflict. So young people like you can create. And thankfully, today there's available tools. For example, there's Google Translate. You can translate articles quite easily from one language to another and post it online.
Thank you. That's a good advice. So you've also spoke about your teenagehood, the time you were studying in high school. I read that you were actually originated in Lankaran. How did you end up in Baku, and how was your middle school and high school experience?
So I was born in, I grew up in Lankaran. It's a town which is in the south of Azerbaijan. Those of you who have not been there yet, it's about 3 hour drive from Baku and just close to Iranian border. So very close to south of the border of Azerbaijan. It is a town which is between the Caspian Sea and the mountains. So it's very beautiful, very green town. Lots of agriculture fields. It's a small town. I mean, relatively small town. So I grew up there. And this was the time when Azerbaijan became independent. We were just a new country. We were happy to be independent. We were struggling against Russia. We had Black January night. We had Karabakh conflict, occupation of our lands. So I was very much impacted by these developments. And I wanted to be a diplomat. I wanted to learn English language, to be able to represent Azerbaijan abroad, to promote Azerbaijan. So that was my basically childhood. And for that reason, I learned English, and I was able to receive scholarship from US government to study abroad and to pursue my studies further. And my first flight actually ever was to United States. So you can imagine that a kid from Lankaran who has never lived in Baku bypassed Baku and ended up in big American city, Detroit. That was my first experience. I arrived in Detroit. It's a very, very huge city. And that's how it happened that I traveled from Lankaran to United States.
Oh, that's wonderful. So after that, you got your PhD in the Netherlands?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Well, after that, I was an university student, then I was master student, and PhD student was the last step.
Have you ever thought about expanding your horizons, getting maybe another doctorate?
Well, you know that in most of the world, there's only one doctorate program. So you just do one doctorate and you become a doctor of sciences. In Azerbaijan, in post-Soviet countries, let's say in Azerbaijan, there's a two-step process. First, you do PhD and then you do doctorate. So it's a two-step level. So maybe in the future I will do it in Azerbaijan. That's how it works. But what I wanted to tell you guys is that you are so lucky to live in today's world, because now there's so many resources available. There's internet. There are different programs, YouTube. But when I was a student, when I was your age, there was nothing. Only books. There was no internet. There was no YouTube. There was no even cassettes or discs or anything. So you have to learn English only by books. And it was very tough, because what you could do, you could learn the grammar of English, but you couldn't really practice it. You couldn't speak to anyone. That's how our English language system in school still works. They focus on grammar. They teach you to grammar. And I remember there was this famous book by this author called Bonk. I don't know if you know this book or not, but maybe this generation doesn't know this book, but I think Samir Maryam and our generation knows. There's this famous author. Her name was Bonk. I don't know what was her first name, but everybody called this book Bonk. And then there was another book which came. This book's name was Eckersley. So these two books were very popular books, and that's how we learned English at that time. But now, of course, you guys are so lucky. You have so many other available resources which you can use to learn English.
Okay, thank you very much for answering my questions, and thank you for the advice for the students, for navigating them. It's been a pleasure to meet you. Now I'm going to pass the stage to Ayan Taghiyeva.
Thank you. Very interesting questions. Thank you.
I also want to thank you for coming today, for spending your time. And I want to ask, how did you first become interested in joining Parliament?
So Parliament, you know that Azerbaijan has a Parliament which has 125 members, and each member is elected from certain district. So, for example, from Lankaran, there are 2 members. From Sheki, there are 2 members. From Ganja, there are 4 members. So the bigger the city, the more members are. From Baku, of course, the record number of member of parliament. So I am generally interested in politics. I was always interested in diplomacy, foreign affairs, international organizations. But last year there were elections to parliament, and I decided to run from my hometown, from Lankaran. There were 7 candidates in my election district, so it was a quite competitive race. And I decided to run for parliament because this is a job which I respect a lot. Members of parliament, they make new laws, they pass new laws, and all of your daily life is surrounded by laws. So parliament members are regulating our society, making sure that, for example, our economy develops fast, our country develops fast. So I'm interested in this job, and that's why I decided to run for elections.
Thank you. How did your path from education lead you to politics?
So I studied at university diplomacy, and I think that diplomacy gives you a lot of skills that are important for politics, especially public speaking skills, because during elections, I had to make approximately 14 or maybe 15 public speeches. You come every day, you come to a different part of the town, and there are citizens in the auditorium, and you have to talk to them, you have to convince them to vote for you. So some of the things that you learn at university help you during election campaign.
Would you advise other students to choose this field?
Well, generally, I would advise our students to choose whatever they love. It doesn't have to be politics. Somebody might love to study medicine. Somebody wants to be an engineer. My daughter wants to be architect. So my advice would be to choose what you love, because if you don't love what you do, then it will be bad for your career. You will not enjoy it. You will not make much progress. Sometimes, unfortunately, in Azerbaijan, our parents are pressuring us. For example, somebody likes to be an agriculture specialist. But people think that if you're agriculture specialist, then you just work with cows. Most of the day you are planting trees or whatever. So they pressure you and they tell you, become a lawyer or become a doctor. And then you end up being a doctor, but you don't really enjoy it. I mean, my mother was a doctor, so she pressured me to be a doctor. So my advice would be to do what you love to do, to enjoy what you're doing. It doesn't matter in which field, as long as you are enjoying it yourself, and as long as you are helping the country, you are helping the world, you're helping the society. That is the most important criteria. But for those who are interested in politics, yes, why not? Politics is interesting in many ways. What I like about my job is that you meet a lot of internationals. Every day almost, you meet foreigners, you meet diplomats, ambassadors. You have a chance to present your culture, your country. This morning I met with Italian ambassador, and he brought with himself Italian members of parliament. So I have a chance to tell him about Azerbaijani culture, Azerbaijani history. So that's what I like about politics.
Thank you for your advice. I think students will find that helpful. I'm very curious, how do you balance your time between academic responsibilities and also your parliament duties? Is it hard? How do you manage it?
Well, it is tough. I mean, I have 2 jobs. One is in the parliament, one is in the university. So you can just logically imagine that having 2 jobs is always more difficult than having 1 job. It requires a lot of good time management skills. So my calendar is always full of meetings. I have to balance my time. Sometimes I'm literally running from one meeting to another meeting because there's time shortage. There are travels always involved. Last week I was in Belgium, so sometimes international travel is required. What I would say that it is not easy, but it is interesting because I love both parliament work and I love university work. There are beauty in each field. In parliament, we pass some new laws. So I enjoy both jobs, but it's not so easy to find time for everything. Yes.
Thank you. If you could give advice to today's students of international relations or political science, what would it be?
Oh, what I can advise for those of you who are interested in politics and diplomacy. First of all, I would like to tell you that this field is changing a lot. Many years, diplomats they were dealing only with diplomats. So during the day, they would not meet with anyone else, just diplomats meeting diplomats, negotiating agreements, negotiating treaties, solving conflicts. But today's world, it's very complicated world. Diplomats meet with business people, diplomats meet with environmentalist activists. So you have to have skills to understand all areas. Sometimes students complain, they say, I want to be a diplomat. Why do I need to study math? Why do I need to study physics? But in reality, even if you're a diplomat, even if you're a politician, you would still need this knowledge because, for example, if you are negotiating a nuclear treaty, if you are negotiating environmental treaty, you still need to have this knowledge about science, biology, physics. So my recommendation would be, first, try to be well-rounded. Try to be as broadly educated as possible from all fields: history, science, geography. My second advice would be learn how to work in teams because today's world is all about teams. You cannot solve any problem yourself. You cannot solve any issue yourself. So you have to work in teams. You have to learn to communicate with others. And my final advice would be that a lot of our professions now affected by technology, artificial intelligence, robotics, data, big data. So you try to keep in pace with technology. So young people usually good with technology, but even if you're in diplomacy, politics, whatever, your job will be very much affected by technology. For example, today, a lot of things are done by artificial intelligence. So some jobs are disappearing, some new jobs are emerging. So try to keep a pace with technology.
Thank you. Can you share a quote or saying that keeps you motivated?
I don't really have the one which is my most favorite. Maybe instead of saying a quote, I will tell you that in my life, what helps me are certain principles. Like maybe I can share these principles. Some of them are related to our country, Azerbaijan. It is important that we always keep in mind that we not only promote our own career, our own job, but also we are serving our country. So keep that in mind. So find every opportunity to do something good for your country, for your nation, uh, especially considering the fact that our country has passed through many difficulties, occupation, refugees, Karabakh. So we have to always keep in mind our country. These are the principles that help me in life to serve the country, to serve the nation, to serve the society, and also to be somehow helpful to people, friends, relatives, society, family, to be helpful to them in daily life. In Parliament, every day we discuss new laws. And I want to give you a couple of examples how Parliament makes your life better. Uh, just recently, we passed a new law saying that all the green technology that is brought to Azerbaijan, like electric cars, scooters, golf carts, all of them will be exempt from taxation. So we want to encourage people to bring more electric goods, electric cars instead of oil running cars. So we do that because Parliament thinks about greater society goods. So we believe that electric appliances are good for society. Another example of a law that we passed a law saying that everybody who wants to live in Karabakh and study in Karabakh will have a chance to do it free of charge. Because we want people to go to Karabakh because Karabakh has been destroyed. So we want people to be going back to Karabakh and reviving it and developing. So there's a new law saying that education in Karabakh will be free of charge. Another example I can give you is the child care and orphanages. Unfortunately, there are some private orphanages in Azerbaijan that sometimes you can see child abuse there. Maybe the teacher is not treating the child very well. So in these orphanages, there's not much state control. So we passed a new law saying that it doesn't matter if it's a private orphanage or state orphanage, all of the orphanages will be monitored by government officials. So these are examples of new laws that we passed in order to make our life and our society better.
Yes, it's wonderful. Maybe now audience would ask their questions.
Some people advise those who want to study in politics or become politicians, they advise them to study first economics or law and only later, as master's degree, politics or international relations. What is your take on this advice?
Well, I mean, there are different ways to get into politics. I studied diplomacy. You can study economics, you can study law, you can even study culture and still end up in politics. But what I can tell you for sure is that when you end up in politics, you will definitely need those knowledges. Because today's politics is very much closely related to economics, culture, technology, science, environment. You all know that there's global warming in the world, so politicians are discussing solutions. So you need to have environmental knowledge and scientific knowledge as well. Because sometimes when we teach political students mathematics, they complain, they say, why do I need math? I don't need math for politics. But in today's world, you need to understand statistics, you need to understand data, you need to understand how economy grows. So a politician will need these kind of skills to understand data as well. So therefore, definitely you need to have these skills.
Important, for students, what would you advise for us, to choose, we're choosing our career, which factors do you think are important?
Whatever you love to do, focus on that. Don't listen to parents much on that. Parents sometimes try to pressure kids and try to tell them that, oh, maybe this is not prestigious job, this is prestigious job. First, listen to your heart. Second, try to understand the global economy, global trends, because some jobs are becoming more popular in the future, so you might have better success in those areas. But also, I mean, guys, maybe one final thought to you. In life, career is important, job is important, professionalism is important. You have to focus on that. But also, what is important is that you try to be a good person, try to be a good citizen, try to have good values. Because if you don't have good values and you focus on being like career-oriented person, you will not go much further, you will not advance, because eventually you will have conflict at work, eventually you will have problems with your peers and colleagues. So also try to be good at values. Without values, without good norms, without good citizenship, you cannot go much further. One example I can tell you is, for example, being truthful. It's very important in life. If you don't be truthful, maybe one time or two times you can go ahead in your career, but eventually you will slip. So when you choose a job, when you choose your career, these are important factors, but always remember that being a good human being is much more important in life, and it can take you much further in life. Trust me on that.